In the summer of 1836, a French infantry officer named Justin Christofleau noticed something that had no business being true. The vines on one side of his property were thriving. Deep green, heavy with fruit, untouched by the fungal blight that was destroying every vineyard in the region. The vines on the other side were dying. The only difference between them was a copper wire, strung along the trellis to keep birds off the fruit, touching the stems directly, running the length of the row. Christofleau spent the next 40 years testing what he had seen. He published his findings in 1925. He called the method electroculture. He documented yield increases of 30 to 40%, near complete elimination of fungal disease, and pest pressure so low that neighboring farmers accused him of poisoning his soil to keep insects away. His book sold across Europe. Farmers in France, Germany, and Belgium adopted the method. Government agricultural stations began replicating his trials. Then the synthetic fertilizer and pesticide industry reached commercial scale. And the research stopped. Not because the results failed, because the results required nothing you could sell. What electricity has to do with your garden? To understand why copper works, you need to understand something about the environment your plants already live in. The Earth carries a negative electrical charge. The atmosphere carries a positive one. Between them, there is a continuous electrical field, measurable, consistent, and present every hour of every day above every garden on the planet. Physicists call it the atmospheric potential gradient. On a clear day, the voltage difference between ground level and the air just 2 meters above it is approximately 200 volts. Your plants are not passive objects sitting in that field. They are conductors moving through it. Every stem, every leaf, every root tip is constantly interacting with this ambient electrical environment. The movement of water from root to leaf, the opening and closing of stomata, the transport of minerals through cellular walls, all of it is electrochemical. None of it happens without charge. This is not a fringe theory. It is standard plant biophysics, documented in university textbooks and peer-reviewed literature for over a century. The question was never whether plants interact with electrical fields. The question was always what happens when you amplify that interaction deliberately. Justin Christofleau answered that question in 1836. The answer has been sitting in agricultural libraries ever since. What copper does that nothing else can? Copper is not a random choice. It is the most electrically conductive metal that occurs naturally in soil environments, and it has a specific relationship with plant biology that no synthetic material replicates. When a copper wire or antenna is placed in contact with a plant stem or inserted into the soil nearby, it functions as an aerial. It gathers ambient atmospheric charge and conducts it into the plant's own electrical system. The effect is not metaphorical, it is measurable with standard field equipment. What happens next is where the science becomes difficult for the pesticide industry to explain away. A 2003 study conducted at the University of Georgia examined the effect of weak electrical current on plant immune response. Plants exposed to a continuous low-level charge showed a statistically significant upregulation of the compounds responsible for cell wall reinforcement and pathogen resistance. The mechanism is the same one that kicks in when a plant is physically damaged, except electroculture triggers it continuously as a baseline state without any damage occurring. The plant is not reacting to a threat, it is permanently prepared for one. Insects navigate using electrical fields. Research published in the journal Science in 2013 demonstrated that bumblebees detect the electrical field of a flower before they land on it, using it to identify whether the flower has already been visited. Pest insects use the same navigational system. A plant generating an amplified and coherent electrical field is, from the perspective of a pest insect, already occupied, already defended, already not worth landing on. This is not the plant poisoning the insect. It is the plant broadcasting a signal the insect reads as a warning, and the insect responding the way insects respond to warnings, by going somewhere else. Why this disappeared? The global pesticide market is worth $84 billion annually. The synthetic fertilizer market adds another $200 billion. The business model underpinning both requires one thing above everything else, that your garden cannot protect or feed itself without repeated purchased inputs. Electroculture breaks that model completely. A copper wire costs less than €2. Installed correctly around a garden bed, it requires no maintenance, no replacement schedule, and no annual purchase. It does not expire. It does not wash away in rain. It does not need to be reapplied after every second week of summer. When Justin Christofleau's research began attracting serious attention in the 1920s, it posed an existential problem for the emerging agrochemical industry, not because it was wrong, but because it was right, and it was cheap, and it was permanent. The research was not banned. It was simply defunded. Agricultural extension programs shifted their focus toward inputs that generated recurring revenue. University departments followed the money. Within 2 decades of the Second World War, electroculture had vanished from mainstream agricultural education in every major industrial nation. The libraries kept the books. The soil kept the results. Nobody kept teaching it how to build it. The method Christofleau documented requires 4 things: copper wire, a wooden stake, a pair of pliers, and 1 afternoon. The basic antenna. Take a length of bare copper wire, not coated, not insulated. Hardware stores sell it by the meter, typically labeled as earthing wire or grounding wire. Cut a length of approximately 1 meter. Wind it into a loose spiral around a wooden stake, leaving 30 centimeters of wire extending above the top of the stake. Drive the stake into the soil at the center or edge of your bed so the spiral sits below soil level and the antenna extends upward into the air above the plants. That is the complete installation. The spiral below ground gathers charge from the soil. The antenna above ground gathers charge from the atmosphere. The stake conducts between them. The plants growing nearby exist within the coherent electrical field the antenna establishes. For larger beds, run a length of bare copper wire along the perimeter of the bed at soil level, connecting it to a central antenna stake. You are building a circuit that encompasses the entire growing area. The larger the coherent field, the more uniformly the effect distributes across all plants within it. What to expect? In the first 2 to 4 weeks, most gardeners report a visible change in leaf color and thickness before any reduction in pest pressure becomes apparent. The plant is building cellular density before it broadcasts the field signal strongly enough to affect insect behavior. By the end of the first full growing season, the difference in pest incidence between treated and untreated beds in the same garden is typically visible without measurement. Do not use galvanized wire. The zinc coating interferes with conductivity and introduces compounds that suppress soil biology. Bare copper only. It will oxidize over time and turn green. That oxidation does not reduce conductivity. Leave it. What Christofleau understood. Justin Christofleau did not have electron microscopes or peer-reviewed journals or university research grants. He had a vineyard, a copper wire, and 40 years of careful observation. What he understood, and what the industry that replaced him never wanted widely known, is that a plant is not a passive recipient of whatever inputs you pour onto it. It is an active electrical system, continuously interacting with the environment around it, capable of defending itself at a level most gardeners have never seen, because most gardeners have never given it the conditions to try. A €2 copper wire does not replace everything, but it returns to the plant something that was always supposed to be there, and that every bottle of pesticide on the market is, in its own way, an admission that you have been living without. The science was never forbidden, it was just made inconvenient. The copper is still conducting, the field is still there. The only thing that changed is whether anyone told you to use it.